I just wondered what both parties' views were on using victim impact statements in courts.
Yep, it was one of the issues that we drove. The victims, there are always victim impact statements, but able to give the victim the right to do it orally. It was something we were supportive of. Obviously, as that legislation evolved, so did the ability of the powers that be to edit the victim impact statement. I'm a big fan of victim impact statements where the victim been given the discretion to say what they want, providing there's no swearing in within a time limit. Because in a lot of cases that we've dealt with, where the victim hands up their statement to the judge, and then it's edited just before they have to stand up and read it, and they're trying to patch through that. You probably know around victim impact statements there are 3 different organisations that have input into the victim statement, and it's very confusing at present. So that review is currently being undertaken on how victim impact statements will be written and drafted and how they will be edited. So the original legislation got botched, in my opinion, as it evolved in 2001, 2002. It's been redrafted now.
Yeah. Not necessarily a confirmed position, but some points on this. I think Rachel's story before kind of illustrates that can end up having really arbitrary outcomes if in one case there is no victim impact statement because the victim doesn't care about her husband, and another one it does. And I think there's real issues of unfairness if that has a big impact on the outcome. I think another kind of interesting thing to think about in this area is sort of the work that SST has done to bring this up as an issue such that people are starting to think about it. Maybe we need to now actually have a conversation with a little bit more imagination. Is having victim impact statements really the best thing for victims anyway? It's kind of been the default thing that's sort of all we have, and it's kind of attacked on both sides. It's not being good enough or not being there at all. But I really question whether that's the most appropriate forum and whether that's actually has good outcomes for victims anyway. When we did the consultation with the Victim Centre, we kind of talked to them about some ideas about what alternative forums victims could have so they could feel that sense of having time to be heard, being able to say everything that they want in an edited fashion, but also being able to do that, keeping in mind procedural safeguards for an accused who needs to have protections from the state prosecution. And I think there's some really interesting options around restorative justice that I know that the current government are starting to look into more, both pre-sentence and post-sentence. So I don't think JustSpeak has a firm view on it, but I think that it's probably an area we should be not just thinking about what's currently happening, but maybe we can be creative and actually think of a better process altogether.
Yeah, I don't have any argument with that. Victim impact statements were really, I suppose, our way of starting to rebalance a system that we felt had got out of balance. Totally. What we see from the people who do deliver a victim impact statement and able to deliver it in the words that they have written, it is hugely healing. Hugely healing for them. If you look around the world in different jurisdictions, obviously in some cases the victim can sit up with the judge. That's very good. In New Zealand, I believe we had just what I call it was a criminal centre offender-friendly legal process that got out of balance. So this is just part of the rebalancing that's going on. Whether it's the best for them, can't ask you that. It is just a rebalancing of the system.
Yeah, and I suppose certainly wouldn't be suggesting that the rebalancing needs to look like victims become the centre of the justice system either. Like I think it's more about having those needs met, which is being able to express the harm that it's caused, the impact that it's had in a way that is totally up to them. But I don't think that necessarily has to be part of the justice system, and it's again kind of looking at this destructive way of framing these questions, or whether it has to be, offenders' rights, and is the system criminal friendly and victim unfriendly. I think we can actually have a bit more of a comprehensive conversation about how those things can fit together, and it's not just going to be one at the expense of the other.
Who advocates for the victim at present? For Independent?
Well, that's part of the work that the Victim Centre is looking at right now, and I think it's great that we're doing that, and we should be all being involved in that work and putting in different voices. So, I mean, I'm not saying that it's been perfect in the past. I think we agreed earlier that it has historically been bad. but I also don't think that necessarily means the answer is to rebalance it in the way that you seem to be suggesting, which is placing victims at the centre of the system.